why did I even bother? This is what you expect, the worst anime list. It would have been nice if these awful anime were at least decent, and can be considered more of at least decent anime of the year. Now granted, you'll see about one or two, or maybe just one, average series that doesn't have me going, I came back in the wrong time. Sadly, they are mostly bad ones, and that I hope you wouldn't have to see it ever. And if you did see it, you're a brave soldier. Here are the rules. Anime has to be released around this year and ended as well. Most importantly, they had to be the least decent series. If not, God help me, awful, atrocious, sinful, and just pure evil. How I ended up seeing some of the worst, if not the worst? Curiosity. Lesson learned. Don't push your way to see them for curious sake. Let someone else take the fall. I guess I'm that someone else. Ha! Let's get this out of the way before I quit anime. This is the 5 worst anime of 2016. Honestly, this series isn't that bad. It's just pretty boring and not much to cringe at. Unless you don't like a character which seems to be right all the time, I guess I placed it here because I missed out on an actual bad series. That said, this series is still below decent. Takumi Harada is practically a baseball fanatic that thirsts for a catcher that can catch his pitching at his fullest. Go Nakakura enters the scene as these two hit it off and form their own battery. Together, they will strive to be the best in the region. It sounds like it's going to be about aiming for the top and be the best at baseball with tons of gameplay. That's not the case here. It's about the drama within the character that has a passion for baseball. I know going in, I wasn't looking for Ace of Diamond or Major. I don't mind if the concept focuses more on his characters and has little action. The major problem is that these characters are dull. While I get the idea that these characters are more towards the realism than larger than life, they couldn't keep it up with the enjoyment because of the execution. When there is a drama piece, it hardly goes anywhere, nor does it feel satisfying. Some scenes just ended on its own and barely have any strong development. Because of it, it can get over dramatic since we have little to no connection with the characters. Realistic characters can't connect and emote with expression for us to care and invest. Unfortunately, characters don't evolve, or rather doesn't show any significant progress. Another fault is the protagonist, Takumi, who is pretty annoying with his baseball antics, yet the consequences seems to lack a real punch to the face. To make matter worse, he usually comes off rude to his own family, and there's no real drawback as it seems like it's just an afterthought. It shows a bit potential in the beginning that he can grow and perhaps have actual development to his character, yet it never pulls through. The frustration comes in when there are aspects to him that seems to be wrong and need to be fixed, but within the same episode, he comes out the rightful path, so it's perfectly fine to act his way. That's nonsense. The animation is decent, but the environment feels plain and lifeless, especially since the characters don't show much charisma or anything. The soundtrack is absent for the most part, yet they do have a neat ones on hold, which is a shame. The ending just end like whatever, let's leave this project already. That's a weird courtesy to think that we have been watching for over 20 episodes with tons of development, yet the overall has nothing to offer. Battery is not a god-awful anime or anything that can make you feel like you want to leave anime. It's just a series that has something to offer but gave us a NyQuil instead, as it truly has nothing worth staying for. This has no energy to get excited for. I remember hearing about this anime during its run, and a lot of people seem to think it's a series that was trying to capture the audience with its forced drama and touching scenes, like we have known these characters for a while. After watching it myself, they're definitely not wrong about it. But the sad part is, there was some potential to unfold that didn't push forward. The urban legend of Divine Gate seems to be more of a reality as the secret begins to surface more to the world. The World Council is formed to restore balance. However, the gate grants the opportunity for those who found it to recreate the world. Will the world change? what does the future hold? The idea of a gate and its universe has a good amount of potential to exploit, which of course never gotten through in a coherent manner. I don't know how the game presented its world and story, but the anime certainly didn't help. It does a poor job on elaborating its universe and offers nothing to be invested with its lore. You just go in and know everything somehow. The biggest crime is the pacing, as it is inconsistent throughout. It gives us no time to appreciate the characters, the environment, and just about everything. It can also get boring with characters introducing themselves right away with every set piece that we don't even know who they are. It doesn't help that these characters aren't thrilling or anything to be amazed. They just come off basic and uninteresting. Also, it's probably the only guy that is decent, but that's only because of amount of focus, since he's technically the protagonist. The worst comes in when they have a lot of characters to offer for development. The pacing goes to full speed in one episode and act like we have a deep relationship with many of them who has little to no screen time at all. It's supposed to make us teary or something, but it all failed, as it just goes too damn fast. One episode just dropped all the new information and development that we supposed to feel so excited when it's really nothing but frustration. The animation is decent for the most part. It's a shame that the action is handled mainly in CGI cross 2D animation, so it doesn't come off as impressive as it wanted to be. The soundtrack is decent, which is something to praise for, I guess. The narrator is present as it explains tons of things, including on how they are feeling to make you feel the same. It tried, but no effect. The ending is such a cop-out that I feel like spoiling you. It really makes a fool out of you. I encourage you to not to go out of your way and watch it. It's boring, uneventful, and has a weak payoff in the long run. If there's one thing that the narrator can tell you, is to avoid the series, because the gate is not worth seeking for. Oh God, now we are no longer in the boredom category. It's time to know how it feels to cringe at something so stupid. Case in point, Taboo Tattoo is one anime that got me thinking, what the hell was this crap? Seigi, or Justice, is the trained martial artist middle school student that one day saves a homeless man who then gives him a special tattoo power. However, the said power is actually a secret weapon produced in the arms race between America and the Kingdom. Blue to come across him in order to retrieve it. Will Seigi manage his newfound power and bring justice with his own hand? It's amazing how the series purposely has a lot of cliches trope in the beginning and how it likes to poke fun at it, yet it still stays in the set path. You see the new character before being introduced in the class, late for school while carrying bread with his mouth, and many more. It's an odd mix of how the series wants to approach with its setting. But damn, as if the bundle of cliche aren't enough, when it decides to do anything productive, it's downright pathetic. I can accept the cliches as long as I'm entertained, but it only got me a headache. The action can be good, which is fine when it comes to entertainment. I mean, we see a lot of different type of mixed martial arts. That should be fun, but no, it begins to lose itself by the second half with the lackluster choreograph. The story suffers a lot with nothing going for, and when it does, it's outright insulting. The characters are forgettable and idiotic, especially in the later half. It was going decent in the beginning, but when the series starts to remember, hey, we are Sennin, let's do that only Sennin can do. The pacing is so inconsistent that I forgot we have a story, or whatever you can even call it. There are characters that just dare to die, and like Divine Gate, supposed to have us care when we know nothing about them. It tries so hard to be different when it remains in the same typical path of a basic shonen writing. But since they kill off characters in a surprising way, it acts like it's deep. It's surprising, alright? Surprisingly stupid. The characters are also inconsistent that many later scenes seem so forced to have them act the way they do. Hell, this series even did the cliche way to end a love triangle in a laughable yet cringeworthy manner. This series has to be aiming for self-aware disaster. The main villain likes to grope and do a lot of lesbian acts that really makes it hard for me to take it serious, even when she does serious dark deeds. If it was so self-aware, it could have lessened the stupidity in the way, but it really wants to embark the great story that is nowhere near that. Everything just keeps getting messier and messier. By the way, I hate that damn character. The animation is actually decent, sometimes more than decent. Sadly, around the later half, it starts to lose its budget and the final fight is laughable to watch with its jerky CGI animation. I know it's a spoiler in a way, but screw it, you shouldn't even bother with this crap. The soundtrack is also decent, though the sound effect can get tiring as every hit seems to have the same note. The crunchy sound is very evident as you will constantly hear it, and it sounds silly. The ending is so rushed, and the finale is supposed to be epic, yet it failed badly with a lot of awful decisions with its direction, poor characters, and laughable animation for the finale. It has the balls to even show us the preview for the future events because we are so amazed by this series, right? Yeah, right. The only redeeming part is Tom, but that's only because the voice actor knows how to sell comedy. The opening is good though. That's it. Don't see it, and if you did, well, thank God you're around to see the next day. I heard there are people legitimately hype this series a lot. I don't know if that's true. Bottom line, it's crap. It's taboo to watch this. Yeah, this anime. I honestly have no idea on what this is even about or why it was made. I don't know if this series was intended to be terrible or the director has no idea on what he was doing. It is worth noting that he has done another, though since Mayoiga is an original series, the cons are much more profound. 30 characters, yes, 30, what a start for potentially great developments in 12 episodes, are on a bus heading towards the Nanaki Village, an urban legend where people can start a new and perfect life. However, it turns out that the village is completely abandoned, leaving them wondering if this is actually a peaceful place. What lies behind the truth of the village? The most troubling thing is that the concept is actually interesting. You can tell that there are good possibility to execute, that this can leave a good impression. I'm all in for people who couldn't accept their life, learning a moral of acceptance. There are parts that actually sound good in paper. Sadly, this series went with a bizarre approach that all is wasted for a lot of laughable moments with head-rolling moments that has you leaving lost. There are 30 characters, and yeah, as you expected, most of them don't get any developments. When the character does get one, it goes by really quick, and some of the development makes the character go weirder than before. They become hilariously bad, especially with one character that just keeps saying execute, execute, execute. The character seems to flip the switch constantly, and they are usually head scratching and borderline silly. The main characters, Masaki and Sakai, are the only ones that seem to be stable, yet they're just passable at best. Everyone else, well, have fun understanding their motivation and direction. It's so over the top that it makes you wonder if you're watching the same anime. The first episode is so normal in comparison because it at least demonstrates its potential, while the later episodes downright make fun of it. The moral is something that could have been strong, but because of the nature of the series is so out of this world, you forget that this is somewhat taking it serious. You don't even know if it's serious or not. There are series that likes to poke fun of the idiocy yet remain solid for it. This one is hard to read. I have no clue on what I was watching. The animation is laughable as well. When there's a twist of the village secret, it's supposed to make you go, holy crap! But instead, you'll be laughing at the design and how poor the animation really is. That just can't be real. It is so stupid looking. Even for the standard of looking dumb, it's so wacky. My god. The soundtrack is there, though I don't recall anything good or any memorable. Opening has a nice tune though. The editing is also bad, as it seems like it has an awkward continuously dialogue that keep mashing up with other dialogues. Usually there's a short pause before someone steps in, but this one wastes no time as it keep jamming everything in. The ending is heavily rushed, confusing, and dissatisfying. I think we're supposed to understand on the decision, but I just thought, wow, what the hell did I just watch? You probably think why I'm not really angry at it? It's because it's so bad that it's good. Yeah, it's that type of series. It's still bad, make no mistake. Oh, it's pretty bad, but at least you can laugh at the absurdity and its moments that it's hard to imagine that it exists. Well, not really, unfortunately. It's best for the series to be lost. Oh God almighty, this anime. This anime, this piece of shit anime, I don't even want to talk about it. And I'm the one who started this list. Okay, let's just go over as fast as possible. Big Order, more like big shit. Even this title sucks. Big Order takes place 10 years after the world goes into a great devastation called the Great Destruction. But that's okay. Places like school remain perfectly fine or rebuild perfectly fine, I don't know. It's so convenient. Angie is a high school student that has no memories of what he has wished for, though he remembers that he caused the Great Destruction, so everyone hates him. Don't worry, you will too. Orders have a special ability, yet hated by general public since it connects to that very event. Not that orders are after Edgy. What answer he will find that can connect to his wish, that can answer all of his questions. The story is a huge mess that you can say is a great destruction itself. So many twists and turns that barely leave any good impression, but instead a facepalm or a face test or anything that wipe your memory out on what you just witnessed. There's an episode when there's nothing but a lot of dumbfounded moments that barely contribute anything, but just for fan service and out of character or whatever they have since they're so one-dimensional, only to end that screams, that was incredibly pointless. Speaking of characters, all of them are awful. The protagonist Edgy is unlikable, arrogant, misguided, and all in all, atrocious character that you can't believe he's the one we're supposed to root for, even being hated by everyone, which is like a cheap way to have us feel sympathy. But the more he acts, the more you want to scream, "Order!" to kill that little bastard. Yeah, that's how they utilize their power, by screaming order at the top of the lungs. Order! 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 It becomes hysterical. Back to characters. They have little to nothing to like about them. Some of them are so random, like how one could get pregnant in a matter of seconds by touching the ribbon. Of course! Why the hell not? The follow-up is even more amazing. Spoiler, nothing happens. Rin, who looks awfully familiar, has a slapstick of being killed off, but it's okay. She's immortal. She doesn't do much, and she comes off rather lackluster for something that can't portray something fun rather than another killer girl. Plus, she falls as the victim of harem. Oh yes, you heard right. That little bastard has harem going around, including his own sister. But don't worry everyone, she's only half sister. It's completely normal. That's how the story was written, to make sure you don't sue them. Even though you could have just gone whatever. Not that I'm a fan. Still, why write it if you have this conflicting issue? It's so unnecessary. The animation is not god awful, it's just pretty standard. However, the use of CGI is awful, and the fan service is so obnoxious that it tried to distract you from the story in case you feel that the story has been crap. But you know it tried. I know they have to censor a lot of nudity for public television. I still like to think they want you to buy the home release so they can get your money for its pleasure. The soundtrack is distracting, especially the jazz music that constantly plays when there's a highlighted moment, which don't even gel well. How am I supposed to get tens with something that has no connection to the scene? Not to mention, it overrides the dialogues at times. Though the script is bad, so perhaps it's for the best? I don't know. The ending, wow, talk about bullshit. Imagine you're watching a down-to-earth or pure realism anime with no magic or no over-the-top expressions. Only it becomes poor parody anime that intentionally wants to be awful. Think as watching 91 Days. Then out of nowhere, you're in an extremely poor man's version of Steins Gate. The plot twist is beyond absurd. We supposed to believe that we are now entering the Matrix because it's one way to say, look, the villain isn't a villain after all. What drugs am I forced on? Who wrote this shit? Why is this so oh my god! Now it makes sense. Damn it to hell! Okay, fine. Future Diary isn't atrocious. I get it. It's guilty pleasure, mainly because of the yandere. But since it doesn't have any of it in here, with nothing to laugh at, you're left with a total garbage anime. I could go on for a long time, but I'm ending it here. I'm done. Without a doubt, it's the worst anime of 2016.